So I'm an INFP. I've been doing my research on YouTube about the Myers-Briggs personality profile. I've also taken the Gallup Strength Finders test too, so I'm kind of familiar with both of those tests. So I'm an INFP, but I'm also, INT or INFP dash A, assertive. So I can explain that later, what that means if you don't know. But my top 5 strengths for the Strength Finders test are, my number 1 is ideation, and then 2 is, well, I actually took the test twice. So the first time I took it, the number 2 spot changed. So initially when I took it, I had strategic as my number 2, but that was when I just took the top 5. And then when I went back later in like college and took it again, with all 34 ranked, my number 2 had shifted. So which became what was it? Intellection, I think. So now it's ideation, intellection, strategic, restorative, and I'm trying to remember what the last one was. It was adaptable, but that one also changed, and I can't remember off the top of my head what number 5 was. I'll have to look it up, but I can't do that with my phone being used. But anyway, those are my top 4 currently. So yeah, I don't know why it changed. Maybe it just shifted the priorities when you elaborate on it more, or not. I don't. That's just me speculating. Anyway, so that's, I guess, in a nutshell, things about me in terms of what I am. So you can watch other videos about the definition, about the Strength Finders. There's a whole channel devoted to explaining that. So I don't know. You can refer to the coaching, the Gallup Strength Finders channel on YouTube for that, more information about that. I haven't studied that, and I'm no expert on it. I've just been watching other people's stuff. And it seems to be resonating and in harmony with what I relate with. So I would tend to agree majority of the time with what they're saying. Not always, but because there's some variation. But I feel like more often than not, out of the different types for the INFP test, that I'm resonating with it more than not. So anyway, so I said in the beginning of the video that I was gonna explain. So INFP, you can also get other people's definitions, but the way I would summarize what I've heard is I is for introverted, which is juxtaposed against extroverted. So it's basically talking about how you gain your energy. Are you drained by people, or do you get your energy from people, or do you get your energy by being alone? So introverts tend to get their energy from being isolated by themselves, which means people are draining. An extrovert would be the opposite of that. So you're gaining energy from being around other people, and I would assume would be draining by being alone. So anyway, I can't say that authoritatively, not being an extrovert, but logically that's how I would define it. Makes sense. Anyway, so that's the I in the INFP. The N, represented by an N, oddly, probably because the I was already taken by the introvert. But N is for intuitive. So which is juxtaposed against sensing, which is actually the majority of what I think people, from the research I can't give you exact figures. I didn't look it up that recently. But the overall gist of what I was seeing statistically was most people are sensors, whereas my dominant function for that is intuitive. So there's less research that's clear about what it means to be intuitive. It seems to be a little bit more mysterious and in the unknown realm, kind of the subconscious. People don't seem to have a very good idea or definition. It seems to me like it's just like you kind of know things without having taught about it, or you have a sense of how to do certain things without having to like have it explained or having done it. So that's how I define it. So just kind of knowing how things should work, or they work the way you think they should, kind of is another way of saying that. So, and then, okay, so those are the first two, IN. So then the third in the 4-letter acronym of INFP. So the third would be F. So that's a feeler, which is juxtaposed against the T for thinker. So I lead this has to do with decision making. So like when I make decisions, I tend to lead with how I feel about it, based on the other values that I have. So like that's where I think the crossover in knowing like your strengths from your strength finder might be helpful, because I value another trait of INFPs is where we tend to be value focused and go off of our core values. So if I know and value my strengths, my top strengths like ideation and intellection and strategic thinking, then I tend to think about those things, I think, and value those things. So or things that are related to thinking or feeling about how do I feel about being creative, or how do I feel about new ideas, or thinking about like I do tend to daydream about innovation a lot, like what's the next big thing, like fan of Apple and Disney and the entertainment companies, and like knowing how I feel about like their core values, like who's the CEO of Disney and what are they doing. That tends to be stuff that interests me, so kind of makes sense with my values. So a little bit of thinking in there for the T's. And then so that's, I'm like I said, an F in the INFP. And then for the fourth spot, INFP, the P's, which stands for perceiving, which is juxtaposed against the J for judging. So I tend to lead with the perceiving, whereas my wife, she's almost the same as me. She's an INFJ. I'm an INFP. So we differ in that one respect. Obviously, we have different strengths, but in terms of the strength finder test, that's how we relate. So yeah, I thought that's kind of cool, interesting. We're both kind of on the rarer spectrum of personality types. On a video I watched on YouTube, there was one, they were ranking common to least common, and my wife was actually the number one least common, with like less than 1% of the population being. I wasn't as rare as her, but I was down at the bottom close to her. So yeah, kind of funny how that happened. And so yeah, so getting back on topic, so the P in perceiving, I think, has to do with I guess I can't give you a very clear definition of that. Maybe that's my P kicking in. I don't know, but the judging seems more like you're weighing your facts and options and things, and perceiving, I'm not really that it's a little bit more ambiguous to my mind. Maybe I haven't researched it enough, or maybe I don't care enough, or I'm not really sure. But I'm still learning about it, so maybe somebody can give me a better definition of the P's. But perceiving, I tend to think about it like perceiving based on like the surface level value of what it sounds like. So I would guess that it's probably something to do with similar to intuition, where you're just like thinking about things internally. But yeah, I don't know. Comment on it down below, I guess, if you want, about if you have a better definition. So anyway, I think, sorry for the bad definition in the number 4 spot, but I think I covered everything pretty well up to this point that I have been made aware of based on the videos that I've seen summarized. So yeah, so hopefully that helps somebody. That's it for this video. Hopefully you find it helpful. See you later.